Mr. Nonsense by Roger Hargreaves. Mr. Nonsense had no sense at all, not a scrap. I mean, he lived in a tree. A tree? Can you imagine? Why do you live in a tree? Mr. Happy asked him one day. Because, replied Mr. Nonsense, I tried living on the ground, but it was too high up, so I moved a tree living near the ground. What nonsense! Snarled Mr. Happy. Thank you, replied Mr. Nonsense. This is so very funny, Mr. Happy. And do you know what Mr. Nonsense liked to eat? Porridge. Nothing wrong with that, you might say, but porridge on toast? Really? Why do you like porridge on toast? Mr. Nosy asked him one day. Because, replied Mr. Nonsense, I tried porridge sandwiches and I didn't like them. And you know where Mr. Nonsense sleeps every night? In a rolling boat. In his bedroom, in his house, up a tree. Why do you sleep in a rolling boat? Mr. Strong asked him one day. Because, replied Mr. Nonsense, I tried sleeping in a motorboat, but it was somewhat uncomfortable. Mr. Nonsense lived, I might very well accept, in a country called Nonsense Land. Now I know somebody else who lives in Nonsense Land. Do you? That's right, Mr. Silly. Mr. Silly and Mr. Nonsense were close friends and saw a lot of each other. Mr. Nonsense was often round of Mr. Silly's house playing jigsaw puzzles. They used to throw to pieces of each other. How silly! And Mr. Silly was often round at Mr. Nonsense's house playing cards. They used to tear them up to see who could get the most pieces out of the card. What nonsense! However, the story about the time it snowed in Nonsense Land didn't very often snow, but one winter I did. Now tell me, what color is snow? No, in Nonsense Land, where it snows, it doesn't snow white snow. It snows yellow snow. Don't ask me why, but it does yellow snow. And when Mr. Silly wake up one morning, the wall of Nonsense Land was covered. I say, he said, Will looked him out of his bedroom window. Snow! And he was so excited he rushed round to Mr. Nonsense's house. Mr. Nonsense was asleep in boat. Wake up! Cried Mr. Silly. Wake up and come and look out of the window! Whatever on earth is it? Grumbled Mr. Nonsense, rubbing the sleep out of his eyes, and as he got up and went across to his bedroom window. I say, he said, looking out, custard! That is custard, you silly banana, cried Mr. Silly. That's snow! He rushed downstairs. Come on! He called, and the day Mr. Silly and Mr. Nonsense had one of the very best days of their lives. Their snowball fight, Mr. Silly's snowballs were round. Mr. Nonsense made snowballs that somehow or other came out sort of square. They built a snowman, a very silly nonsense girl, sort of a snowman. Ha ha ha. Come on, said Mr. Nonsense that afternoon. Let's go to the beginning. But we don't have a job again, said Mr. Silly. Oh, no, we don't, agreed Mr. Silly. Mr. Silly thought, oh, yes, we do, he cried. And Mr. Silly went back to Mr. Nonsense's house and come back with his wheat. Oh my God, this is the way! They shouted together as they slid faster and faster down the hill in their rolling boat off again. It was a wonderful day, and that evening, after having supper together, porridge pie, Mr. Nonsense suggested that they play the game. What shall we play? asked Mr. Silly. Draughts, suggested Mr. Silly. I forgot how to play draughts, said Mr. Silly. Oh, it's easy, replied Mr. Nonsense, and went round and opened all the doors and windows. Here we are, he said. Draughts! What nonsense! Ha 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 ha.